Welcome back, everybody, to Phil's Recap and Review. Better Call Saul, Season 2, the Season 2 season finale, Klick. And here's the post-episode recap and review. And this, Chuck's mind isn't perfect. Or, yeah, it is perfect. Fucking Jimmy. What an episode, though. But fucking Jimmy, how could he not know he was being tape recorded? I think half of the world knew into that moment.
Everybody.
But Chuck learning some fucking evil shit and conning his brother at the end of this season. Mike possibly bumping into Gus. But we're going to get all into that. But everybody, welcome. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the Better Call Saul Recap Podcast. We're here right after the episode airs. So these are our immediate thoughts of this episode. Such a rich and layered episode. So we're going to get into as much of it as we can. But as usual, if we're talking about this episode right afterward, just so much. I'm flabbergasted by the visuals in this episode more than anything else. The visuals in this episode are the most exceptional I've seen on this show. The wide landscapes, some of the crossovers, the color changes depending on which situation we're in. But anyways, if you guys want to join the discussion, you can jump in the live chat right now with some of the awesome folks in the motherfucking issues chat already talking away about this episode. And also with me tonight is Joe Dirty Locks and Katie Crow. How are you two this evening?
Doing fantastic. You?
Joe looked like he was about to kiss the crow right there. Joe looks happy enough to kiss the crow in this movie. Oh, there it is. Oh, mwah, mwah, mwah. But if there's other ways you guys want to reach us, at igotissuesman@gmail.com. You can also tweet at igotissuesman or call or text at 781-990-8509 so we can get into this fucking episode. And, okay, let's go to the chat before we get too quick in this. Chuck, he has something that Chuck never will have. Humanity, says FJ.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica says, fine, hire Mike to kill Chuck. I won't rest until Chuck is dead. Mike can put his sniper rifle at Chuck anytime. Chip Tripperson says, guess we're live. Yes, we are. Edward says, everybody hates Chuck. Coming Thursdays to the CW. Jessica says, Phil, I need to kill Chuck. Chip says the Mike sniper shot was a cock tease as fuck. We're going to get into that. Better Call Saul. Vince knows how to tease my cock right, though. It was a cock tease, but it made me hungry for more.
Oh, yeah. See, there's a cliffhanger that's not pandering to people.
No, it gives you closure and sets up other things. To me, this reminded me, again, to go comparison that we got into a lot over the course of the season, or I got into many times this season. This show reminds me, especially this season arc, of a Game of Thrones arc. We hit this intense, crazy peak in season 9, and this episode really felt like a Game of Thrones season 10 episode. Not talking specifically about anything that happens to protect people from spoilers, but just meaning that Game of Thrones tends at most of the seasons to peak in a big season 9 crazy event that happens.
Episode 9. Right.
Episode 9, thank you. And then episode 10 is the episode that cleans everything up and sets everything up. And I feel like this episode did perfectly.
Yes. One of the first things I said was, now that's how you end a book. Big, crazy episode 9 followed by, a book is supposed to not just end at the top. It's supposed to have, after it peaks, it has... a
valley, the ebb and flow of it. Joe, you can give both you guys a little bit more headroom still, Joe.
Oh, headroom.
Half your head's getting cut off. I want to see your whole face, Joe. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
It's a lovely face.
It does. It feels very much like a complete story to the season, much like every Game of Thrones season has, because they're written as books originally, and their show producers and makers and creators were able to keep that in the screenplay. And one of the things Vince and company here has done is they've been able to write that into their screenplay and into their story for this show extremely well. That's one of the things, again, a lot of people might think that this was a slow episode. It wasn't a great episode. I can see people saying that. To me, I loved it still. I was still on the edge of my seat through the whole episode, and when it ended, I didn't feel like I had been robbed of an ending.
Isn't a bad thing necessarily.
Yes, doing it slow, getting it slow can feel really good. And this episode felt really good, and it teased a lot of things that I want to set up. I'll get this right off the fucking bat, because it's probably going to be one of the big things coming from this episode. And I'll say straight up, I said it in the chat during the episode, I'll say it again. Not specifically, Gus didn't sneak over there and stick the stick into the guy's horn. Gus sent that note through one of his thugs. That is a Gus thing to do.
Gus, why? How does See, I was thinking maybe what if
it's fucking with his plans to fuck over Hector. It could be anybody else. I just want to put out my stake of it. You guys can tell me I'm wrong afterwards. But
no,
Stuff Frank left that note.
I was thinking it was like, what if the first thing I thought was, was there a moment in Breaking Bad where Mike talks about having had his savings wiped out previously, and this was him building it back up again? Or did it actually happen twice in Breaking Bad? I couldn't remember. So I thought maybe he had something. This was his introduction to work something out with the DEA because they were already following it onto this shit, and they saw him start following and doing the shit. They're like, who is this guy? But I don't know. I got a whole side story built up into my head.
Oh, no,
nothing to do with shit. Like,
honestly, it could easily be that side story. I'm not going to say, Joe, you're a fucking idiot right here. To me, I think it was a clue, not as blatant as in Batman Begins when we see the Joker card, but just the simplicity of the note just seems to me. Didn't Gus, and I'm blanking on Breaking Bad, but didn't Gus send something similar to somebody once, like a simple note saying, don't do this, or don't do this right now, when Walter was going to try to kill him, or when someone was trying to do something was about to happen, and Gus kind of sent a note like this before. I'm blanking on my
it's been so long.
We have to do
I'm doing it in the office. I'm literally starting my Breaking Bad rewatch tomorrow. But so I could be a little bit, maybe I should do it before Better Call Saul. But I want to say that we've seen Gus do something like, oh no, yeah, I know what it is. When he gets mad, or when he got mad at Walter, he sent him a simple note that said Polos, just one word. He's left notes with one word before. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe because I want to see him and I'm interested in the character and seeing him and Mike's relationship develop. And I think that could be a big thing for season 3 leading in. And I feel like they were giving it to us right there. That was Vince and Peter Gould's way of just telling us like hinting at us and making us know it was Gus.
Katie said Gus too, I think, right at first.
Well, I was just kind of throwing everything out, the possibilities I could think of.
And yeah, Gus is a great one. I want it to be Gus, but I find that if not the season is written yet, it could be anything. And whatever they do, it's going to be really fun to find out. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredibly fun. Let's jump into the live chat and see what a couple people think. Justin Credible says, I think you're right. I was thinking the same thing. Someone said it could have been one of the sand snakes. Never can tell. Guys, Fear the Walking Dead review, ? We're not going to talk about that right now. But so at the end of the season. Or maybe it was really Gus riding on Morgan's ninja horse. Chip Chipperson said, Walt walked up to Gus's house and he got called away and told, walk away. Someone said, KLC says, no, Kirby, we don't speak of that show around these parts.
Yeah, they don't have to fear our Walking Dead review. We put it up. It's on there. We may not have given it a good review, but
Jessica says, don't even say those words right now, Joe. Jessica Barnes says, no, Phil, just did a Breaking Bad rewatch. Kirby says, it's pretty good shit. Marcus Caesar says, you're not the only person I've heard that this season is better, by the way, Kirby. Marcus Caesar says, making it Gus would be jumping the gun, in my opinion. KLC says, I like it, but we're not allowed to speak of that here. But I mean, I can see a lot of people thinking that might be jumping the gun early and kind of saying that the series is ending. I don't necessarily agree with that because I would really like to see more of the interaction and criminal workings of Gustavo and Mike working together before Walter's in the mix to screw everything up. I want to see how their working relationship kind of developed. I'd be interested in a lot of that, seeing a whole season of that. So to me, it's just in time. I feel like Mike's story, I hate always using this word sometimes, but I feel like Mike's story organically is driving to the point where Gus is going to be aware of him. He's fucking with Salamanca's. Gus is watching Salamanca, aware of his activities too. Going to cross paths. Mike's going to notice, oh, this guy has shared interest as me, and it makes sense that he might try to reach out to him now and go, don't do this yet. I have a bigger plan here. And that's the only reason I feel like it makes sense to the story right now for him to show up, and that's why I feel like it's him.
See, sorry.
I don't know. I just think it depends on how they would work it. It could be too early. It could, it's one of those things. If they do it right, it's perfect.
That's why I'm thinking if it's him who leaves the note, I think that's kind of jumping the gun a little. I think that's like an odd way to introduce him. I don't really feel so comfortable with that.
I kind of like it. It shows the omnipresence of him and how he's always watching and how he's on top of it all. And again, I don't think he's sneaking through the woods. You don't have have a friend crawling through the desert.
To me, it would feel a little sand snaky. It would feel like it's just such like a.
I couldn't disagree more, but I respect your opinion. To me, I feel like it makes sense in the story that he would be watching him, and what we know of him as someone that likes to watch people and be aware of all criminal workings around him. It's something because he knew of Walter before Saul even brought it to Walter. He's like, I've heard of you. I know what's going on. Yeah. So he's someone that it makes it a point to be aware of the activity. And if someone's gonna fuck up the person that you have plans for, you're gonna do what you can to stop it.
If you're dotting your T's and crossing your I's, yeah. And Gus is very much that. He is very anal about his business and his life and things. So to me, it seems a little weird. Like, I'm not saying it's you like. I like the idea that it could be Gus. It's just a little strange. That's the way we're going to introduce him. I agree with you that it's not too early to necessarily bring him into the show and get him involved and give us Gus and Mike interacting, and Gus and Mike Gus starting to slowly be trusting Mike. And I would love to see that. I would love to see a lot of that. Yeah. Especially before this show ends. Not knowing how many seasons it's actually going to be.
To me, I feel like they probably only have a 5-season arc at most. He only had a 5-season arc with Breaking Bad. They ended up squeezing another half a season. So I don't see this show going much past season 3, maybe season 4. I don't think we're in for 9 or 10 seasons of this. I think it's 4 or 5. Right.
I don't either.
So by that definition, then third season's the perfect time to bring Gus in to me. If maybe they're only going 3 seasons. Maybe they don't. Vince and Peter don't want to go past next season, and next season's the last year. You never can tell how much.
That would be unfortunate. This show's just starting.
Because we want more, but if that's the story they have to tell, I trust them. I don't feel like I want them to squeeze out any more episodes than they have to.
Well, that's true. Yes,
but I'd be interested in seeing what they do next. Again, it's one of those things that I feel like it just add to the next element of that universe. I don't feel like this. I feel like this show, more than any other thing, they should not drag out these stories. That it should just feel as natural to the story that those dudes want to tell. I know that's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm the point where I'm drinking so much Kool-Aid of this fucking shit, dude. I'm sniffing it. I'm not even mixing the water. I'm breaking out lines of the Kool-Aid man shit that Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould put out, and I'm sniffing it up my nose. I trust in everything that they're doing.
I completely agree that they shouldn't be pressed to overextend a story. The one thing I hate is when I feel like I'm being given stuff to fill time. Yep. I feel like that's what dream episodes are about and all this shit. And like, if they have to extend a season and they get to the point where they're like, well, episode 4 should really be a dream sequence episode. It's like, now they're just killing. They never
quite do that in this show. Let's jump in the chat and see how what people think. Jessica Bond says, fuck yeah, beginning next week, this shit's gonna get picked up in DVR. Oh, to have jack shit to do. I forgot Better Saul came on today. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome, Jose. Jessica says, I predict 5 seasons. I predict Gus does not appear next season, but reaches out through a proxy. That's what I'm thinking too, Edward. Yeah. Really, when it comes down to it, that's from Gus, but we won't actually get to see Gus.
Yeah, he wasn't waiting in the desert.
I wouldn't be surprised if we surpass Breaking Bad season 1.
Okay. Here we go. I think you might be right, and I see how it fits. One of the things I said to Katie today during the show is how much I loved the interactions between Mike and Bobby. I call him Bobby because I don't know his name. He's the gun salesman, and he's Bobby from Supernatural. So their interactions are they're so perfect and so mirrored, and they actually reflect upon what Gus is and projects through the way he carries himself and the way Gus interacts with everybody, and including Mike. So I could see maybe Gus has done business with this gun salesman, and this gun salesman has told Gus, some old guy has bought a high-powered fucking rifle from
not directly him, maybe one of his underlings. I could definitely see that. I just want to finish up the chat here. Jessica says, powder it up or you'll drown. Fuck yeah, they did. FJ says, I can't see it going past 4 seasons. I hope I'm wrong, though. Chip says, they can't be cocky enough to look past season 4. He was the flower girl's dad in Dexter, too, Chip says.
Huh.
So, but I see what you're saying. There could be some connection there. The only thing I'm going to say is that guy's lasts a long time. If I could be corrected, someone could correct me in the comment section. But I believe, is he the same guy that sells Walter his gun later on in the series?
Yes, he is.
Is it? So he's been in business a long time.
Yes,
so I don't stay in business necessarily selling out one of your client to another client, but I definitely see where you're going with that, and there could be some. I heard talk.
What if this guy gets his guns through Gus?
Well, I mean, Gus has. I can only imagine. Gus is smart. He's observant. He has people watching everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
He probably had people watching Hector and the Salamancas already. So they just noticed this old guy kept showing up and watching them also, started watching him and reporting back. And he was just like, interesting. Keep watching. Don't let him do anything.
Did it seem like to anybody, to you, Phil, that Nacho was trying to block the shot at all? Could it have been Nacho that was like, I'm putting this note out there, I'm sending somebody?
I've seen a couple of people in the Breaking Bad group on Facebook said that they thought that it was Nacho that knew what Mike was doing somehow and kind of stopped the situation. It's very possible. I wouldn't put past anything, to be straight honest. But we've talked all this time about the Mike and the possible Gus situation. We've gone a long time without talking about pretty much the star of this episode. And the show did something I'm not sure if I thought it could do. Excuse me, what weird wine burp there. It made me feel bad it made me start off the episode, hate Chuck, feel bad for Chuck, really feel bad for him in the sense of some people might have enjoyed it. I know some of the chat's going to go, Phil, I didn't feel bad for him. I enjoyed what. In retrospect, I liked watching that torture stuff. But the way the camera locked on Chuck during the episode when he was going through his MRI and the torture stuff, and he had a camera angle that didn't move. They didn't cut the shot.
Upside down, yeah.
They just focused it right on him, whether upside down. It just created such a sense of claustrophobia.
Yes.
And the way I was feeling, that I felt everything that Michael McKean was expressing.
Absolutely.
Another, just from an acting standpoint, what the work that him and Bob Odenkirk do together is, I was saying to you before the show, I didn't want to talk too much about it because I'm going to run out of superlatives to talk about this show. The interactions between them and their few scenes going back and forth, every moment that they had an interaction with was completely different, but intense nonetheless. Jimmy's love for his brother is his blinding thing.
Yes.
Is the thing that blocks him from his goal. And Chuck fucking used that. Chuck was like, holy shit. He realized when he saw Jimmy sitting there, when he woke up, when you get that visual of Michael McKean's face going, oh, and you think, is he brain dead here for a second? When you're looking at it, he's going, wow, Jimmy's standing by me through all this. I can use that. That's his first thought. And Jimmy never sees it, Joe and Kate. He never sees it.
Yep.
No, Chuck is his Achilles heel, completely and totally. And Chuck realized that and just conned the con perfectly.
And went straight to proving Kimmy right.
Ugh.
Yep. You're starting to like her. You called her Kimmy. You're like, you're not Kim anymore. Kimmy, I love you, Kimmy. Way to go, girl. KLC says it made me super uncomfortable. It reminded me of every time I had surgery with the condescending way the nerds talk and stuff. Just I think that Mike was following way too close between Nacho's murder van. Yeah, I did too.
I gotta say this.
Mr. Palcy says, I like the torture. Yes, Joe?
When they came out of the MRI and the doctor was like, we've been watching him for a couple hours and there's something happened in there and all that shit. I'm sorry. When Chuck was like, I'm going to stay right here, they had already done all the medical tests that they would have done. The response would have been, well, actually, we're sending him to a different unit right now. He would have got sent to the psych unit, period. Out of Jimmy's hand. Doctor would have signed the fucking papers. See you later, Chuck. Nothing you can fucking do about it. This doctor had already seen him once. This doctor already really wanted to commit him once. This doctor wasn't allowed to once. Now the guy's come back a second time, not that much longer later, with a big gash in his head after passing out, making a scene in an overnight copy store, yelling at the clerk, telling everybody in the emergency room, don't touch me, get the lights out of my face, I have a sensitivity to all this shit, and screaming and like whacking his head on the he would have been committed out of Jimmy's hands. Sorry, Jimmy. 3 days, period, 4 days.
I want to take a couple of texts here, a couple of tweets here. Anna Banana says, fucking hate Chuck. Fucking hate him. Not the best season finale for me, but I'm going to be back next season, and I can't wait. We got a live show tonight. Yes, we definite live show tonight. Jessica, who's in the chat, says, no, hearts, Better Call Saul.
I think everybody's got to also calm down a little, because you got to realize, too, that one of the things Jimmy did.
I don't want to calm down, Joe.
One of the things Jimmy did this episode was
tell me to calm down.
Got emergency power of attorney and guardianship, or not power of attorney, but guardianship over Chuck, and I don't believe Chuck has been told this yet. He's just been told what I've what I have.
What at what point are we? I'm sorry.
Well, at any point, by the end of the episode, Chuck.
He knows. Sorry.
No, we haven't even gotten into the episode. We're just sort of like talking the main points. Yeah, Joe just kind of talking about that situation. What are you trying to say, Joe? Exactly. That Jimmy might take what Chuck did and turn it around on him and use the power of attorney to just kind of lord over him once he realizes what Chuck's doing.
Have him committed, right?
I don't think Jimmy's gonna go there. The
guardianship.
At one point, Chuck says, so I've been something like about him being committed, and Jimmy says, no.
Yeah, well, you're going
home. And, the guardianship, he says the EM or whatever it's called. That's just as bad.
Oh,
Chuck knows.
Oh, right, the emergency. That was what he said, the E.
I forget
Nacho. Sorry about that, Nacho. Okay, so let's get into our recap here. So we start out in KLC.
Okay.
I will keep him on right now if you want to call in. So we start out on the vital signs, and Jimmy is sitting there. We focus on Jimmy, so it looks like it possibly could be Jimmy sitting over Chuck right here. But we get a quick fake out, and it ends up being Chuck and Jimmy sitting over their dying mother.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so powerful.
Have you had any lately? I'm fine. Come on, Chuck. Let's go over to Novi's and stretch our legs, get some air, a couple of hoagies.
You want to get a sandwich now?
Just a thought.
Yeah.
You're hungry. And what ultimately happens in this situation is he leaves, and right when he leaves, we'll get to it here in the quote, but right when he leaves, the mother actually does wake up for a second, and she can only say one thing. She says, Jimmy, 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 and Chuck is going, Mom, I'm here. No, it's Chuck. No, it's Chuck. No, it's Chuck. Jimmy, 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 and Chuck is hurting.
I felt for him there. Oh my goodness.
That's gotta hurt. Like a punch right to the balls right there. That's
he's sobbing when she wakes up too. So it's like, Mom, you're here when I really need you. Oh,
Jessica says, not gonna lie, I was like, Jimmy, just wait 5 more minutes for the fucking sandwich, Jimmy.
It could be 3 more. Okay.
No, come on. You got to go get it.
Right.
You got to get a sandwich. It could be 3 more days. It could be 3 more hours. It could be 3 more minutes.
No, it was just bad luck when it really comes down. No malicious behavior on Jimmy. I wanted to read into it while I was watching it. Jimmy can't handle the situation or something like that, but it's not that. Jimmy, in that moment, when you're in those situations, someone has to be the one that walks and goes gets food. Someone needs to be the dude that sits at home and answers calls, tells everyone else. I mean, before cell phones, it had to sit at home and answer the calls and tell, oh, this is where the people are. This is where everyone has a job when shit hits the fan, and sometimes you're not the one that happens to be in the hospital when the loved one passes, and it sucks. It sucks being that person in the fucking Russian roulette game that's spinning around and who's going to be sitting up there, who's going to be not. And Jimmy
being in any of those places.
Well, and not everyone. Not everyone can just sit there. Like that's just not in some people's nature. You know, no matter how much this other person can and just sit there and stare and starve. You know, some people have to get up. They have to move. They have to function because they can't focus on this one thing.
Chip says, I'll always be the guy going to get some food. And we got KLC, but 1 second, KLC, let me clear out the chat. Adafan says, stop playing favorites, Mom. Jessica says, and thus the hating of motherfucking Chuck is bored. Critch says, Jimmy will always fuck it up when Chuck is near. And Edward says, especially in New Mexico where the fresh avocados or breaks for a sandwich, you can't afford to wait. No, you have to get the fresh. And here we go to our buddy, KLC. How's it going tonight, KLC?
It's going good over here, but I just want to say the best way I could describe this episode was uncomfortable. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, after Chuck got out of the hospital, you could just tell that there was something off. I didn't really figure it out till the end, but kind of everything that was going on in the episode with the Mike plot, I knew that he wasn't going to shoot Hector. You know, there was just this tension going throughout the whole episode. And I thought that part of the episode was great, but I just wish that there was a little bit more payoff. But it was a pretty good finale overall.
No, great point. And great point, KLC. And I kind of feel the same way, and that's where I say the Game of Thrones thing. We got the big payoffs for this season in the season 9. This was collecting the dust. A lot of stuff did happen. I really enjoyed this episode too, and it makes me excited for season 6. But I definitely see season 3. I'm just thinking about Game of Thrones. I see what everyone could say about that, especially coming off last week and leading up. It's like a catch your breath kind of situation that I feel like was so thick in production value of the shots and how everything looked. But I hear what you're saying so much, and it's the biggest note I have through the notes through the episode is uncomfortable. The episode made you feel super uncomfortable, similar in a way, but not exactly the same way, because I feel like this episode did it a lot better. The most recent episode of Vikings, if people watch Vikings, you were supposed to feel in the episode the main character going through withdrawals. In this episode, you felt through the eyes a lot of the times of Chuck, and there was just this error, or Mike being in an uncomfortable position for Mike, and feeling the watching Mike's gun go back and forth, feeling that tension inside you. It really set that up exceptionally well and made you watch it, or made me watch it like this a little bit. Like,
The only person that really felt like they were in a comfortable position this whole episode was Hector, or whatever, Salamanca, whatever his name is.
Yeah, because they were blissfully ignorant and unaware of what was going on, and they're just beating up their driver and having fun doing it. We're doing it. Yeah, exactly. We're doing it well. Jessica says everyone hates motherfucking Chuck. KLC says I almost feel like it was the Reigns of Casmere without the payoff. Edward says especially the Mike sniper scene had a wonderful "you are there" feeling. They got us into that with the time with that movie that just came out this week. I haven't seen it yet, but doesn't in the first person view movie.
Oh, like Hardcore or something.
Hardcore Henry, I think it's called. Is that what? The scene where we're seeing Mike with the sniper rifle was very Sniper Elite for a second, where you're going back and forth. I felt it. It was really great. And some of the shots and some of the editing choices in this episode were very, and I say this in a way to separate that both shows are extremely different. There was a lot of Breaking Bad-ish stuff going on with the wide landscapes and just the way things were cut in a weird way, and some of the choices by the editing team and the way the episode put together. I'll try to point it out in my notes when we get to the parts. But there were certain sections I was like, oh, this is very Breaking Bad-y right now, and I like that. I definitely like this. This episode had a different kind of feel to it than the last couple of would. And I would say Vince Gilligan wrote this episode, whereas Peter Gould wrote the last episode. This has a Vince Gilligan kind of feel to it.
Yeah, they used just a lot of facial close-ups. I mean, they do that a lot in this show, but I felt like this episode, it was very focused on the, like, very close, deep emotion of each individual character. You got a lot of Michael McKean's face and the micro expressions and just the little changes and the emotional effects. And Mike, just watching those little changes in his eyes, the twitching and the mouth. And it was just very deep and profound the way they did it. And it's so simple. Just let the actor experience and we'll watch.
Yep. And let's jump in the chat room. Someone says, Mark David says, Hardcore Henry was god awful. And KLC says,
it was hardcore awful.
Edward says,
I didn't have high hopes.
Are ultra sensitive. Your stomach drops when the crickets stop. Yeah, when the crickets stop, expecting gun barrels. So incredible. The music during the Mike scene was very Breaking Bad. Jessica says, very Breaking Bad tonight. Music, time transitions, specific camera shot. Yeah, that's what it was. And here we go. Let's listen to a voicemail from our buddy Big J. Let's get into it.
So, thanks, pal. I thought it was pretty good. Good late show. Let's see. The guy from the gun salesman was from a show called Deadwood also.
Yeah, he was in Deadwood.
A few years back.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff.
Piece of shit.
Chuck is a
He was
piece
a
of
prospector.
So disappointing in Jimmy for letting his guard down. Now he fucked over Paul and that stuff too. Oh man, gonna miss. I'm gonna. What cliffhangers though? Like Katie said, man, big fucking cliffhangers. I'm gonna miss the. I'm gonna miss this show, man, for a year. But we got something great to look forward to.
Yeah,
oh, so great.
Fucking show, bro.
Great fucking show. And that's the thing. We really do have this show, and this goes to what you were saying, Katie. It gets you excited and it leaves you off. It does what a cliffhanger should do. Makes you so angry, raging on Chuck. And I want Chuck's comeuppance there after having an episode that made me, and I know not everybody, I'm saying made me feel bad for Chuck, in that you come in that moment, I'm saying the moment before he calls Jimmy in and they get into the big device. Once you see Chuck rummaging, you're like, Chuck is up to something. But up until that point, like when Jimmy first brings him home, I really thought for a moment that, wow, Chuck realizes how much Jimmy loves him.
Yeah.
A little bit. I bought into it. I sniffed it. I was like, oh, Chuck is actually being aware of it. Like, maybe he thinks Jimmy's a scumbag. He's still not going to stop on this, but he realizes his brother loves him.
Nope.
Totally. Even when he took the tape recorder out and like stopped it, I was just thinking like, destroy it. He's got to destroy it. He sees the love that Jimmy has for him. Please, Chuck, destroy it.
No.
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 He might. He still might. We don't know.
No.
We don't know.
I knew right from the moment he woke up. He looked at Jimmy. He was like, ugh. Not even like, thank you for staying. He was like, Jimmy, give me some water. And Jimmy's like, oh, you're back. You okay? Water.
People
just pissed that Jimmy was there in the first fucking place.
I mean, Joe, in retrospect, I like I said, I went back in time. I was like, oh, I should have known it. You're absolutely right. Big J. So it says, Big J, what do you think about rats? Big J sounds like he's grieving tonight. KLC says, hashtag support Big J. Big J sounds like the,
we're with you, Big J.
There's lots of love coming to you. Chat, but we could tell it's also a late night on the East Coast.
Yeah, he was tired. He's getting to bed.
Us crazy bastards up late on the East Coast. But huge thanks, as we said, to Big J and his family for checking out the show. We really appreciate all them, as we appreciate all of you motherfuckers in the motherfucking chat. You guys are awesome people, and we really love talking about this show. We can't wait to talk about it next season. We'll talk to you guys later. Good night. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so then ultimately Chuck starts crying in this scene when his mom finally dies. It's a great performance by Michael McKean here. And let's listen to a little bit of it.
Jimmy. No, Mom, it's me, Chuck.
It's me.
Jimmy.
Jesus Christ.
I don't like Chuck, but oh my goodness, that is
horrible. Just horrible.
Chuck's the accident that got her married, and Jimmy's the one she decided to have.
Harsh.
And here comes Chuck. Jimmy back
too.
So he comes back. Jimmy comes back, and this is one of the shots that I thought was Breaking Baddy. When you see Chuck in the foreground of the shot, and you see Jimmy in the background, kind of showing up. The whole shot was at a little Dutch angle thing, at like a side angle, and I thought it was exceptionally well done. Someone says yes, Joe. Yes.
Yeah, Joe noticed that one.
Welcome to the Breaking Bad, the Better Call Saul Insider Podcast. Sorry, no, I didn't. I just always wanted to do that.
I liked it. That was nice.
No, that's how they start their podcast with that song. I can't use that song. Jimmy, start the reactor. Here we go. We got Big J calling in. How's it going tonight, Big J? How you doing, buddy?
Phil, man, did I heard you say a wine burp before?
Yes, I had a little bit of a wine burp.
I'm fucking jealous, bro. I'm medicated up tonight, man. I couldn't drink, man. I love to drink down on my shoulders, man.
Dude, are you doing okay? Are you?
Yeah, I threw my back out a little bit, you know.
Nah, dude. No, I know.
So I had to take some heavy duty aspirin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Aspirin. Yeah. That's the ticket.
How's my buddy Joe doing, and Katie?
Hey.
Doing very well, my man.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you.
So, man, I'm surprised that fucking Jimmy is even alive. How did Chuck not kill him when he was a baby?
Smother him.
Yeah, seriously. My goodness.
Hey, I made it out. I made it to this age.
Like, don't you think that he should have just fucking put a pillow over his head? He's older than him, right? He's older brother.
That's what he's been doing to him his whole life. He's been smothering him.
Brothers, I've never seen a brother hate another brother as much as this. I mean,
you haven't seen my family. You haven't seen how my brother treated me growing up.
Oh, dude, I'm so. 1 second, Big J. I'm gonna hashtag support Martin here. I don't think Martin would go that far as I know. Martin's might be a lot of things, but he's not a Chuck, dude. Give the boy some break. I met him.
He's not a Chuck.
I like to think
he's not a Chuck. Martin might not be the funnest guy to have as an older brother.
My brother's got my back. My brother's got my back, and I got my brother's back. No doubt.
I met him. Your brother's paid for me to get into poker tournaments. I love that guy.
Yeah, I'm sitting next to Maria. I go, Reek, there's a fucking tape recorder under there. I called it. I mean, because you seen he was smiling when he went to the garage, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You knew that he was up to something, man.
Oh, and you saw that it was an electronics graveyard in there.
I said to Maria, I says, what the fuck is he going in the garage? And then he's got this smile on his face. So right there, I knew. When I didn't know where it was going, but when I seen, and then when he's saying, Howard, whatever.
Howard.
And then when he called him, and then when I see him going, I said, oh, it's fucking
set up.
Jimmy let his guard down on that. Are you guys?
I am, but I think we've been shown to see that Jimmy's weakness is his kryptonite is love. And when he loves someone, he's blinded by. I think that's why Saul Goodman becomes so. Eventually, to become Saul Goodman, to put on a superhero costume, he needs to like block out all that bullshit, and he's all, hey, I'm not even gonna get to know people. So because when he lets
that's an excellent point, Phil. I didn't think of it like that. That's an excellent point, man.
No.
Emotion kills
something had to
him.
break this man. Something had to break. I mean,
we all have our triggers.
Like I said in the voicemail, I feel bad for Ernesto. I was so happy that because I was thinking like,
oh yeah.
Bring it up. I'm like, why is I'm surprised that Ernesto stabbed him in the back like that because they worked together when they were young in the mailroom, and then when he said to Chuck, I said, good for you, Ernesto. But now Ernesto's fucked. Yeah,
he really is, and he's going to be back in that. I mean, he said I'll be happy to go back to the mailroom, but going back to that mailroom. If not,
you ain't going back to that mailroom.
No, you're getting fired and prosecuted for Chuck's going to get that guy fired for lying.
What a piece of fucking shit, Chuck.
Fuck
Chuck. And Phil, I was just like you. I thought the little bedroom because, dude, I've had fucking panic attacks too, man. I've gone through everything, and I know that feeling. Like you don't want to. And I had an MRI done, man. That is fucking scary as fuck. You feel like you're in a ball.
Dude, and those sounds.
Maria
dude, those sounds in an MRI, the bam, 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 and shit. It's fucking scary shit.
You even close. You feel like you're in a fucking coffin.
Yeah, even if you're not into the whole electric fucking weird shit, just hearing those sounds being in there, they're like, we're giving you music to listen to. And the sounds are
like going on elevators.
Yeah, fuck that shit. A couple comments before we let you go. Edward says, Big J, is Maria willing to share a meatball recipe? The chat. Oh, my God.
Dude, you might lose your tongue just for asking.
Are you surprised? Are you guys? You still there?
Yep.
Are you guys surprised that they didn't? They kind of tail it off with the fucking Cinnabon shit, right? I'm surprised they didn't throw that in. They haven't thrown that in like 6 weeks, right?
Yeah,
the opener.
I am surprised about that, and I feel like we should have gone back. I would like them to go back to there more. In fact, I wouldn't mind a whole big section of the last season of this show being all in Cinnabon land. Where it's all is now. I said last season I want to see more of that because that's the situation. That's the sequel to Breaking Bad stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if after this, that's what they do next. Like they continue the story.
I tell you, if in one of the episodes, Kim said she came from Nebraska or the borderline in Nebraska.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised in the end if they all end up if she's still around somewhere and like that's how it ends in the end. Like you know what I mean? Like that would be cool. Seeing him end up with her in Nebraska somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, she's helping him in some way.
They're both Cornhuskers somewhere.
Phil, you and Joe and Katie, you guys. I'm glad I hooked up with you guys on YouTube. You guys made this very fun for me.
Thank you, buddy.
You really did, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
Pleasure.
You make it fun for us.
Love to you and the family.
I'm going to try to do the Game of Thrones thing, bro.
Oh yeah.
You gotta.
I just wanted to get this out of the way. I'm going to try to catch up. I might not catch up by the first week, but I'm gonna do like I did with Breaking Bad. I'm gonna just fucking watch it. I'm gonna stay up all night.
Trust me, once you start, you're not gonna stop.
Awesome, buddy. Hope you enjoy. We'll talk to you soon, Big J. Talk to you later, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are the best. Take care.
You too, man.
You too.
Lots of love to Big J. Let's get back in.
I gotta tell you, I knew immediately as soon as Jimmy got up and walked out of the house. I said 3, 2, 1, and then I went, oh, maybe not, and then I went, oh, okay, yeah. Look, he's going to do something. He's action starting. Go fuck your brother.
Yeah, but Chuck is all the bad shit that he thinks Jimmy is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, he really is. When it comes down to it, he's that minus the charm.
Yeah.
So
and that's what makes him more dangerous because he does all the same fucking shit on the right side of the law.
Yep. So great shot of Jimmy coming down with a slightly side angle. Mom is gone. Jimmy's sitting down. He asks if she woke up. He says, Chuck lies and says no. What a dick face for not telling him that he asked about him. I understand you're hurt about it, but what a fucking dick shit. So we cut back right.
Oh, why shouldn't Jimmy hurt just as much as I do?
And that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we cut right back into the moments right after Jimmy hits his head. And Jimmy right after Chuck hits his head. And Stephanie was watching this, yelling at the screen, Jimmy, fucking don't, Jimmy.
Oh, me too.
Standing up, yelling, going, don't go. She's like, I can't even handle this right now. I'm going to bed. I'm watching this tomorrow. Don't fucking do it. But Jimmy runs in and can't help himself. He goes into control mode, and here's Jimmy running into the Cinnabon situation.
Oh. He's a better guy than I am. Damn.
Call 911.
Me too, Kate.
Get out here.
Yep. And Chuck opens his eyes and says, I got you.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I need an ambulance. I got Paper's house. Good.
But in fairness to this situation, and this isn't to Jimmy, just the fairness to a dangerous situation. Joe and I were in a situation once, not to go on a rant. I'm not going to talk in details about it, but I just want to say that we were with 2 other people. Some person got thrown out of a moving car, landed on the ground, slid down the highway in front of us. The 2 other people that we were with locked in and could not move. They were both shitting their pants, stayed still. Joe, who was an ambulance worker at the time, kind of went into action, helped her out. We don't have to get into the details of it. We'll save it for a story show. And he's like, Phil, he yelled at one of the other kids, Phil, come over and help me. I was over there helping him. He yelled at one of the other kids, Joe's like, you, call the cops. And this kid's like, could not call the cops, could not do anything. So I had to run over and push the kid out of the way and actually talk to the cops. In these situations, some people don't know how to act. So Jimmy, in that moment, these people are idiots. There's that idiot kid in the fucking coffee shop that's not going to do anything. Ernie's a fucking kid that's panicking right now. No one's calling 911. The only way something's going to happen is if it's me. I still think he made a fucked up decision.
Yes.
Probably just called. No, I'm thinking about this from our period. Does he have a cell phone? Does Jimmy have a cell phone? He could have just taken a payphone or a cell phone, called 911, and gotten the fuck out of there.
Yeah, we were lucky. We were right next to a payphone. Right was 10 feet away.
Yeah.
I just mean that I can see where Jimmy's thinking in that moment, that in a panic situation that not everyone can think clearly, and a lot of people were, very much panicking in that moment, and Jimmy immediately goes into action. So Ernie steps up.
He would always sacrifice himself for his brother.
Yep.
Again, his Achilles heel.
And he turns off all the lights, unplugs all the copy machines.
Goes in for his brother. In the chat, Edward says Ernie steps up big time later. Jessica says Ernie came through like a fucking
good
Ernie.
kid. Ernie. Ernesto.
So Jimmy shuts off the lights, kicks people's out, calls the ambulance. Jimmy goes into a state of take care mode. You get bubble wrap for a pillow for his head. Chuck starts to wake up. And Jimmy says everything's going to be all right. And Chuck just looks blank at him in that image like, what the fuck are you doing here? You fucking bastard. Next shot, we get into a lot of crazy visuals of Chuck being brought in an ambulance. Amazing cam shot with buzzing and the lights. He's in hell. We hear the docs talking, lots of confusion. He was out for a minute. They're trying to talk to him. All he can do is grunt as we see his brothers in the waiting room. He asks for them to turn off the lights. Please turn off the lights. And we get into all of this, which is really horrible to listen to, but we're going to do it anyway.
Tell me if there's any pain.
Oh, I didn't get an EKG. What? The what? Gentlemen, did we get an EKG? He's only 5
No
weeks.
EKG.
No, please, no.
Tricia, we're going to need a 12-lead, please. No EKG. No EKG.
Yes, Charles, we need to do an EKG.
No, you don't understand. I have a condition. I have hypersensitivity to electricity. Charles, please push your feet against my hands.
So, Joe, your point is once they start hearing this stuff, they'd send him right up to the psych ward?
Well, here's the thing. He does have a right to refuse any kind of treatment. He absolutely does have that right.
Head injury,
but exactly, he has had a head injury. The doctor has to make sure that she protects herself in the hospital from malpractice. They're going to do everything they can to make sure he's medically cleared to leave no matter what. And then when he starts in with this, and they don't necessarily have to give him an EKG. No, yes, he bumped his head. They don't have to give him an X-ray. They can wait and they can see how he reacts and they can monitor him. There are things
they do ultimately what Jimmy suggests to him later, like go old-fashioned medicine. I do want to do a quick story. My drummer in a band I was in was like, I don't want to be recorded. I don't want them miking my drums. And the guy who's recording goes, what do you want us to just hold 2 mics overhead like the old jazz drummers? And he's like, yeah, that's what I fucking want. Is that kind of like with the doctors in this situation where they could technically do that with the stethoscope and everything, but it's not the post.
Yes, here's the thing. The hospital gets paid every time they do an EKG, every time they do an EEG, every time they do an X-ray. If they make someone sit there and watch him for 2.5, 3 hours, 12 hours to make sure he's not concussed, to make sure he doesn't die and fall asleep and die, then the hospital's not getting paid for that. They have to pay somebody to actually sit there. The insurance company, yeah, they'll reimburse them the man hours and stuff, but they're not getting extra premiums out of it by having to run these tests that the insurance company is going to pay the hospital. So it's in the doctor's interest, it's in the hospital's interest to want to do these tests, to order these tests be done. But he has every right to refuse all these tests.
Edward says doctors are like traffic cops. They make you regret trying to assert your rights.
Right. Oh, yeah. And they should have respected that. But also what they would have done in return is once this talk started, they would have been like, okay, we're not, but you want to be monitored for 12 hours instead of having EEG, then fine, we'll do that. And we're going to do that from the psych floor because we think you're fucking crazy. Yeah. So that's all there is to it. Sorry, Jimmy, no emergency power of nothing. It's our emergency power to commit him because I'm a fucking doctor and I say he's fucking crazy and he's a danger to himself and he's a danger to others because he was in a coffee store in the middle of the fucking night yelling and screaming and whacking his head off the fucking counter. Bye, committed.
And he starts hitting his own head too. He starts slamming his head.
And then the doctor
of the doctors, and that is self.
Then the doctor, who has a relationship and was also on 90210, comes out to talk to Jimmy about the whole situation. And
I'll be able to tell you, but can't know for sure until we do those tests. But you know what I'm going to say.
Well, can't you just go old school? Look at his pupils, use a stethoscope, that kind of thing. He doesn't want to be here.
What he wants and what he needs are 2 very different things, Jimmy. We don't know if he lost consciousness because of a heart-related.
So she's basically, in more terms, being a lot nicer about it, but she's ultimately saying what you are, Joe.
And ultimately, she's actually dancing around. Come on, sweetheart. He was yelling and screaming and didn't lose consciousness.
She's talking around it, but she's in theory saying the same thing you are, right? Ultimately,
this was he lost whatever in the. Is she talking about losing consciousness in the MRI, the awake consciousness?
No, losing consciousness when he hit his head and stuff, and that they need to get in there, and this is where she gets in that
temporary emergency guardianship.
Yeah, let's get a temporary emergency guardianship. Edward says 90210. That's where I keep recognizing her from. Yes, she was on 90210.
She's been in a lot of things.
Oh, and I guess they don't know if he lost consciousness before he fell or not.
Yes. So Jimmy comes in to see Chuck, and Jimmy tries to be nice. Chuck calls him on his shit immediately in this whole situation. So Jimmy comes in. Chuck.
Well, isn't Johnny on the spot?
Oh, Chuck.
Yep.
Damn.
See, right there. Boom. Right away.
Yeah. Can I get you something?
Ernesto,
Can I punch
come
you
in here, please.
Yep. Right away. What the fuck?
Yeah, he will not. I said Chuck will not relent. Chuck immediately starts to put it together. Jimmy, how the fuck did you get here? There was only one way that you never left. Why'd you stay there?
The fucking math.
And he figures it out exactly. And that's one of the things that I love in the scene later with Jimmy and Chuck. That Chuck figures this stuff out, deduces this. Chuck's like Sherlock Holmes. But if Sherlock Holmes was like a complete cock-sucking dick. I mean, maybe he was, depending on what Sherlock Holmes stories you read. But Chuck is Sherlock Holmes minus any personality, too. He just has that sort of mind where he's deducing this so easily. He just sees right through. Maybe it's just because he knows his brother, as he says to Kim last episode. When you're around somebody, and we talk about this a lot, Joe and I have said this, you play poker with someone a lot, you know their tells. He knows Jimmy, and he knows to let Jimmy will go. So it all makes perfect sense. You start connecting the dots easily, and all these things are just easy assumptions. But it's really quite amazing how quickly Chuck is coming to understanding exactly everything, right down to the littlest detail that Jimmy is doing here. And Chuck says, I have something to do, and or Jimmy tells him that there's something I got to do, and you're not going to like it.
Really, truly sorry, but I got...
He's Columbo, but he's just severely unlikable, says Edward.
No, it's temporary.
He's Angela Lansbury without the sex appeal. So he tells Ernie to head out and get some sleep, and he asks him why, or because in this situation, ultimately Ernie comes to the. I'm kind of blanking on. I almost skipped over the most important part of that. Ernie comes to Jimmy's defense in that situation. That I actually called him. That's why he showed up there. I called him before we had, and it doesn't even make sense what he says to him. And Chuck never buys it, and it makes me feel stupid forever.
It does make sense though.
No, it makes sense. But why would he call him before he heads down there? I just think it doesn't. It seemed to me that in retrospect, looking at it from Chuck at the end, that Chuck immediately pointed it out as a lie. Knew that Ernie was right there, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Wait, you called him on the way down there to meet us down there? But I guess that could minorly make sense, but it really makes no sense.
No, Chuck doesn't.
I called
think
him
that
on the
Ernie
way back to you because you make me go to the fucking copy store in the middle of the night and ask him.
I know it makes sense, but already he doesn't call.
Guess him like that.
It's
Ernie's too afraid of him, and that's Chuck's ego.
Thank you, Katie. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like immediately, I think it just stunk to him in that situation. Wait a second, Ernie never makes that coffee at home. Ernie never does that thing. It just stuck out to him. I think is a little weird.
But Ernie does call him. Ernie called him the first time Chuck flipped out.
When Chuck's unconscious.
When he was unconscious and stuff. In this situation, not when he's just going to try to bust Jimmy. When you know that I'm going there to try to bust Jimmy, you're gonna call Jimmy. Yeah. I don't know. If I was Chuck in that situation, I would think Ernie was full of shit. Yeah. Knowing what Chuck knew in that situation. You're telling me I sent you down there to get the fucking rat information on Jimmy to find out what Jimmy fucked up, and then you called Jimmy on the way back to meet us down there?
If you weren't my friend and Jimmy was okay, here's the thing, Phil. No, here. If my boss if the manager of Boston Market sent me to go investigate you on my way back to the manager, I'd be like, yo, Phil.
I already lost.
We worked together at Boston Market.
But I don't think it's the same thing though.
They were friends in the mailroom.
It doesn't matter to Chuck.
I don't know. It doesn't matter to Chuck. Chuck don't give a fuck, Joe.
Chuck doesn't understand brotherhood. Chuck doesn't know what love is.
I'm with Katie on this one. Katie and I outvote you on this one. So we're in on the truck driver inside Nacho's trunk, and we see him riding down. Another very big Breaking Bad shot in this episode. They pull up to a gate, and Nacho doesn't look happy about what's about to happen, as we learned from Nacho last episode. He's not looking forward to torturing this guy, especially that he knows nothing. He knows he's drawn.
He's pissed that he has to do it.
Yep. Then we see the great scope of the shot with the mountains in the back, with Mike looking at the whole thing. He's in his station wagon. It just looks so fucking beautiful. So then we go over the next scenes to Chuck getting blood and harassing nurses about how you shouldn't treat me that way. And Chuck is sitting in there being tortured in this situation as Jimmy watches through a window. And this is the whole MRI scene and all of this, which is very uncomfortable again to kind of...
Are you familiar with the Hippocratic Oath? You should be. One of the oldest binding documents in history.
Yeah, say it in Latin, Chuck.
First, do no harm. This is not the way to treat my condition. It's as though I had an allergy to penicillin, and yet you persist on treating my infection with it.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, no, completely different because you're fucking crazy.
Again, just wow visuals for the shot selection, and Chuck feels every minute of this pain as the waves, whether it's fucking crazy or not. He feels the pain. Yeah. It's real to him.
Yes, it is.
He really feels the waves of it all, which is, again, true.
Absolutely.
When you're in an anxiety attack and you're convinced of these things, you're in that moment, you're going to feel every ounce of this pain. So then we go over to the waiting room as we hear diagnosis murder on the TV, and Jimmy is freaking out. Let's jump in the chat. Are you familiar with the definition of the Hippocratic Chuck? Good.
He even quotes fucking Latin at her.
Critch agrees with you, Joe. Ernie had a plausible reason to call. From his point of view, Chuck acting crazy. Would you order to check all coffee shops in the middle of the night, being a parrot and hunt? Edward says, even in the neck brain, Chuck goes out of his way to be a pompous bookworm. Talk about Charlie Hustle. So he should be home in this situation. They're sitting in there, and okay, so over to the waiting room, and the diagnosis murder is on the TV, and Jimmy's freaking out, and he should be home. Jimmy says, Kim, you should be doing work, as he gets into her, and they have a little conversation in right here. It just goes back and forth. Kim is being very helpful in this moment, very supportive of what he needs to do, and trying to kind of push him in the direction that you need to take control of the situation. Chuck's all fucked up. Again, kind of being on Joe's side of the coin. So in this situation, Jimmy's about to leave, and the commercial starts. And here, let's listen to Jimmy's commercial.
Jimmy, you didn't start World War II, but you sure as heck finished it. And if that weren't enough, you sent a rocket 300 feet tall to the moon. Now, years, you need someone looking out for you, someone you can trust, a man who says what he does and does what he says. When you need someone to count on.
Wait, Yosemite Sam? Does he need Yosemite Sam? I say what I do what I say.
I say. Jimmy.
Because
Moxie is in such short supply.
Moxie.
This is just, I'm going to play, he's got Moxie in such short supply disease. This is the logical next step to Better Call Saul.
Love it. Oh my God.
A lawyer you can trust.
And Anna Banana adds, it was nice sharing this season with you guys, as always. Can't wait for more Saul Goodman and less Chuck. Die, Chuck. I'm adding die, Chuck, die. Good night, Anna.
Good night, Anna.
Nighty-night.
Thanks.
Moxie is in such short supply nowadays.
Yeah, Moxie is in such. Gimme Jimmy. Trevor Cox says, gimme Jimmy. I almost choked my beer. Baby Saul Goodman commercial. Jessica says, they had me at Moxie. The commercial is so epic. Epic!
They had me at, but you sure ended it.
I'm sorry. I got to do it, guys. I got to do it.
You didn't start
one more time.
20 times?
Yes, 20.
You didn't start World War II, but you sure as heck finished it. And if that weren't enough, you sent a rocket 300 feet tall to the moon.
300
now,
moon.
You need someone looking out for you, someone you can trust, a man who says what he does and does what he says. When you need someone to count on,
Gimme Jimmy.
Gimme Jimmy.
Gimme Jimmy.
Gimme
Jimmy. Short supply these days.
Yeah. Jimmy's
See, we got a
Moxie.
catchphrase. Gimme Jimmy.
Gimme Jimmy.
Better Call Saul. Gimme Jimmy. That's fucking awesome.
Gimme Jimmy.
That's very
Jimmy. I like it. I fucking like it. So the commercial, just really awesome. Moxie's in short supply these days, as we said. Just really great. So then we go into another
T-shirt. I call T-shirt Moxie.
Jimmy, hashtag Moxie. I just want to get the hashtag Moxie shirt.
Yeah.
He's got Moxie.
So then we get the secondary conversation between Jimmy and the doctor.
The good news is that physically he's okay.
Shut up, lady.
Everything looks normal with Charles's head and spine.
Bad news is he's got a schizoid embolism. Quaid's got a schizoid embolism here.
Not current. I'm sure that's no surprise to you.
And his heart?
Strong.
It's fine.
EKG was normal.
Strong like bull.
As far as losing consciousness, my best guess is
Chuck could totally take the little blue pill.
It's basically a panic attack. And no signs of stroke or cardiac event. However, there was
a complication. Complication? What? What do you mean a fucking complication?
And this would have gotten him admitted to the.
No, yes.
And then we go into the room and we get a very parallel to something we see in Breaking Bad too. I know something we also saw with Chuck earlier in the show's run, but we get a sort of how she explains a self-induced catatonic state, or some could say a fugue state. It's probably a different sort of thing, but Walter kind of did the same thing when he didn't want to deal with shit. He just kind of went into his sort of state. So I thought that was a slight they probably in the writers' room, they're like, oh, this is going to be like Walter. There's a fugue state. KLC said, I literally said a complication with her out loud, like no lie. Edward says, Dr. Hibbert would have made this scene a lot more palatable. She's chanting her inner 90210 dramatic voice. Katie Crow says Jessica as well. FJ Guy says his event would have been Psych Ward City. Yeah.
Yes, no doubt. And that's the first time I call bullshit on this show, really, is surrounding his trips to the hospital. Okay, the last one didn't get him admitted. This one, same doctor. If maybe there was another doctor at the hospital, he went to a different hospital, sure, maybe not. Same doctor, same hospital, even worse episode than last time, even longer episode than last time, second Catatonia episode, which is even longer.
I do have a response to that, though, Joe.
Boom.
Give me Jimmy.
Yeah, no, I don't care how many fucking lawyers are in the room. The doctor's got absolute right. At least in this state, he would have been committed. The doctor would have done it just to protect herself, even.
Yeah, well, it is true. This is quite a few years ago, and it's a different state. Who knows? I would imagine that the laws would be similar, but maybe he has crappy insurance.
Yeah, Joe. It's one of those things too. I think you're right. You're probably right. But part of the fact of you're dealing with an area that you have more information about, so the inaccuracies stick out more.
But I will say this too. One of the largest fields in this country is the medical field. So there's quite a lot of people out there going fucking bullshit. Just like FJ Guy, his event would have meant Psych Ward City. That's a crass way of saying it, just like me saying he's fucking crazy. It's a crass way, and it's in good humor, and there's nothing funny about mental illness, but blah, 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 blah. Right.
So we go off to our next scene is Mike.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the rest is, and then yada, yada, yada. Crazy person. So off to Mike. Shooting and practicing. Someone's giving him tips on the sniper hit. You sunk my battleship. It was F6. I've sunk my battleship. And now we get Mike getting his guns. And Joe talked about loving this guy.
Through the tube.
But I love this dude too.
For 7.62, you could put 3,500 through it. Never know. It's about how tight she shoots. And this one's tight as they come.
That's what he said.
Breeze picking up downrange. Your barrel going to be.
Edward says, "Sorry, Joe. I had the sorry, Joe. Give me Jimmy. Just wins every argument. Keep that in mind."
Lawyered.
I'm keeping that one in my bag. But Joe, give me. You're right about them. They're idiots. But give me Jimmy, Joe.
Lawyered.
Lawyered. Yep, exactly. Solved. Then we see Mike shooting, and then we get the secondary part of the two of them. Where this guy gives him the bullets free, and then I love how this guy, to protect his own ass, says, "Oh, but one last thing, Mike, and don't take offense to this. I gotta wipe all my prints off that."
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Taken.
It's part of the reason Mike respects him.
None taken.
Joe, that's actually a pretty good. You did it better the first time.
I know. It sounded like it to me too, and then I tried to do it again. It sounded awful. I was like, "Oh no."
The first one sounded. I wanted to say the first one sounded like
the second one.
I did it way over.
That one was too much, Joe.
Yeah.
It's like in the video with you looking at the camera.
Taken. Nope, can't do it.
John Wayne, you went John
Wayne. Taken, but no.
Pilgrim.
Can't do a pilgrim. It's horrible.
Taken, pilgrim.
Jessica says, "I thought this scene would foreshadow Mike missing his shot and wounding Salamanca into the wheelchair, but no such luck."
I did too. I was thinking it could go that way.
Yep, everybody was thinking. Everybody. That's what everybody was thinking since everybody was thinking that. Here comes.
And then we're going to get into this in a second, but with everything, I was like, "Oh, he's going to shoot Nacho, and he's going to miss Nacho. It's going to go through Nacho and hit Salamanca, kill Nacho, and
he could have." Yep.
Literal red shirt Nacho was too clever and blocked the shot every time. So as we get an amazing day tonight shot, we're still on Chuck, and he blinks his eyes and breathes. He's kind of awake. He's sad and in pain, looks next to him, and Jimmy's passed out. So immediately Chuck goes, "Okay, now all this is happening." I think this is when he finally formulates his plan completely. Where he goes, "Okay, Jimmy's here. He really loves me. I can use this to my advantage.
Absolutely.
Fucking lawyer him by using his love, using his weakness, as we were talking about with Big J earlier, his weakness, his kryptonite, his love." The scene between the two of them.
Hey, buddy, you back with us? How you?
Water.
Water, please. Yeah,
Water. Give me the water.
I love that he bumps into the chair right there. I thought awesome. It was probably accidental, and he just kept going through it.
Yeah.
Or it was just one of those outtakes that they kept in. And again, listening to I've done it every episode, so it's what's not an episode without promoting the insider of Breaking Bad, the Better Call Saul podcast. But they talk about that shit a lot, that they let things go, though. Oh yeah, that really works. So
it does.
we didn't think about that, so let's do it.
It's tight quarters in a hospital room. It makes absolute sense.
I also want to say something about, I've been talking so much about how Vince Gilligan and his team and yada, yada, yada. But I feel like I said this a little bit last week, but again, listening to last week's episode and listening to the podcast that they did about last week's episode, last week was so much about Peter Gould. It was his big episode. And this series, in the way that Breaking Bad was Vince Gilligan's baby, and he had Peter Gould as his number one. Vince Gilligan is still the leader, but this is very much Peter Gould's baby, this whole series. He's the one that makes the major, when it really comes down to, they have a writing team that works very similar, but he's the head of the ship of this, essentially. So I feel like, as much credit as I always want to throw at Vince Gilligan, because he's the quarterback of that team, so he gets the credit, he gets the attack. Peter Gould is so important. Like with Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they are a team, and Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan really work together exceptionally well and on all ends. So he's not as sexy of a name in the sense Vince gets so much credit for everything he does and everything that happened with Breaking Bad, and the quality just gets carried over. But I got to give Peter Gould his credit for this season, and especially for last episode, having to listen to him in a podcast talk about how much he actually had to do with that episode. And even Vince Gilligan, I didn't really have anything to do with that. When I finally saw that episode, he's like, I didn't really do anything for that. And I think part of this Better Call Saul experience for him is, I already did my thing, and now I'm getting the band back together and overseeing Peter, someone I really love, doing the show he wants, and add my credibility and my extra level of it, because Peter just wanted to do a situational comedy, and that would have been stupid. And I want to get in there and make it all good and make it a drama and add the little bit of the Breaking Bad world to this a little bit more. Yeah. And again, I love that. And they're just a fucking great team. The Gilligan keeps those shots in. Yes, exactly. Gilligan keeps those fucking shots.
I love it. It really banged the bed too.
What was that, Joe?
Just the bump in the chair. It really banged the bed. It was such a true.
It really did, and that's just those little subtle things just add so much to every single shot of acting scene. And again, Bob Odenkirk killed it in this episode with his interactions with Chuck, especially in this final interaction that we're going to eventually get to. Edward says, reminds me of Ed Wood when Tor can't quite find her way through the doorway. Brilliant. Great stuff. Really great stuff. So Chuck asks Jimmy for water, needs, remember the MRI, then I was out for 20 hours. Let's get out of here. Then what fresh hell are you taking me to then? Is to the mental institute? Is that where you're going? And Jimmy says, no, you're going home. So cut to Jimmy bringing Chuck home. Let me make some tea for you, he says. Let me make some tea. Let me help you out. Jimmy says, no, Jimmy, get the fuck out of here. You've done your duty. You've done your duty now. Leave me alone. I'm fine now. He throws off the space blanket to be like, I promise you. See, I'm fine. I'm fine, Jimmy. Get the hell out of here.
I got stuff to do, Jimmy.
He snaps at him. You've done your duty. And this is where, again, in the moment you think, okay, Chuck, because Chuck apologizes. He goes, I'm sorry. I lost my temper for that. That was the truth. That was the truth coming out. It was the truth of, get the fuck out of here, because I want to get in my plan for trapping you now. Would you leave? It's that situation. I got a joint hiding under.
Busy fucking. Yep.
Yeah, I got a joint hiding under a pillow, but I don't want to smoke it until everyone leaves because I don't want to share it. Would you guys get the fuck out already so I can smoke this blunt? And it's I don't know what excuse me, eat this sandwich. Sorry, it's a little but it's that to get the fuck out of my house so I could do this shit. Exactly. I'm sitting here with my girlfriend, making out on my bed. You guys are all hanging out here. Get out so we can get to second base. Gilligan is the Maynard refusing to perform at the front of the stage and hanging out by the drummer. Yeah, he's the Morrison facing the crowd. I don't want to perform to the crowd anymore. Why don't you go up, Peter? Why don't you go up to your room and write that hit song alone with your principals? So here we go. I want to be left alone. I feel fine. I promise. Look at me. I'm fine. I'm dancing. I threw off the blanket, did a little tap dancing number. He's like, I'm fine. So Chuck watches his brother leave. And then here we go. The music kicks in and he's on the hunt. Columbo Chuck's going around. He goes outside, goes into the garage.
Electronic graveyard.
Yeah.
Joe, you actually just quoted my notes exactly. Electro device graveyard. So we see a computer, we see a blender. We see all these sorts of things. He searched around. Excellent light in the scene using the lantern. The way they I don't know if they use the natural light of the lanterns or they just put certain gels or a certain filter on the camera or that it did in post, but they made it all look exceptionally accurate to lantern light or not that I know it. I know lantern light, but I know what it looks like. But it seemed real to me. It seemed very old school.
Looking out your window and seeing that guy run from the front door to the garage wrapped in his tinfoil, carrying his lantern in the middle of the day.
I was thinking, what are the neighbors thinking of this guy?
They're used to it by now.
Yeah, the baked potato guy is running around in his yard again.
Mr. Potato Head's on the loose again.
Where's my hat? Where are my glasses? I need to find it. Too much electric stuff. The electric zapped out my eyes. I'm a fried potato. Eating the French fries, huh? I'm dumping in the oil, you bastards.
We don't call the police unless he starts running out into the street.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Oh golly.
And see, there's had to have been police calls on the guy in the tinfoil in the neighborhood at some point.
But that's long. In defense, Joe, that's long past. Those days, this is you're in the salad days now of it. It's happened. They're used to that. They know he's harmless now. As long as he's not on the lawn or something like that, or going all Junior Soprano and knocking on the door and be like, "Hi, do I live here?" Jessica says, "I would leave him tinfoil hat outside on the doorstep. It completes the ensemble." No,
seriously.
I don't even watch Better Call Saul. I just love hearing you three talk shit about anything. Oh,
nice. Thank you.
I love having you in the chat room, man. I love to see you in the chat. Love seeing you jump in the comment section too. Like get to see you in real time, buddy. Great to see you in there. So he looks around, sees all the electric devices, sees a computer blender, searched around, excellent light. The lantern music's very fitting to the scene, but not necessarily a song, kind of music, but it fits so well, almost kind of 80s-ish person doing where those scenes like in Beverly Hills Cop when Axel Foley's sneaking around. Very cool stuff. So he looks around, gets some tongs and a poker, and starts lifting something out, but it cuts.
Yeah, he won't even touch the pieces that are off.
That won't even touch them.
Plugged in. They were once they still must have residue on them.
But
Don't touch them.
Why even still have them?
Edward said one particular item in the electronic graveyard that caught my eye was a Win fridge, such a Chuck and Rebecca item. Great attention to detail. A wine fridge, excuse me, a wine fridge. I'm drinking wine, so I read that as Win, and I'm thinking about the Win.
The Win casino.
I want to go to the Win.
It'll be here soon, Phil. It'll be here soon. It's starting to build.
So let's cut out from this scene as we cut over to Mike saddling up, doing his best. Regulator, saddle up. And just a breathtaking shot of the mountain landscape. Thank you, Joe. It's Mount Up. Such a breathtaking landscape. Just looked really beautiful. And then we set into our sniper shot elite game with Mike. No music here. Just the sound of the desert. Mike's loading up. We see a fly buzz by his face for a second, and then through the sniper's eye, through the first person, Mike's gonna wait. He watches some guy come from digging a hole, some guy head back into the house. Mike loads up, he waits, some guy comes coming through. They're gonna bury and kill the driver. Then we cut over to Hector over there walking out, and we hear the screams when we cut over to the Hector and Nacho area when the guy's being tortured, but they like cut or get ready to be killed. But it's weird. They just cut over to Mike's silence, cut over to the screaming person. Just excellently done.
All believe that he wasn't in on it. They still have to kill him because there might be somebody out there that doesn't believe him and might try it too. So he's got to die, period. And this guy knows that. This guy knew that from the beginning.
Nice transition between the opening the box and Mike opening the trunk. Best tense building the whole night. As he's going back and forth, we see Nacho kind of standing in front of Hector. Mike's thinking about taking the shot, goes over to where they're killing the guy, thinks about taking the shot over there, then goes back over to Nacho and Hector again, kind of going, Nacho, get the fuck out of the way. And you could see it in his hands. He's aiming at Nacho, aiming at Hector. Should he take the shot anyways? Thinking about the other group, back and Hector, back and forth. Just, it's so crazy. Should I shoot they shoot the driver. And Nacho turns around to face Hector, and Mike thinks about it. We get a few different angles. Just a really great situation. Both guys are frustrated. Yes. They go to bury the driver. Mike keeps eyeing the house as everyone went back into the house, except for the guy that's burying the driver. I wrote notes, tension city, exclamation point, exclamation.
Yes.
As it gets down to the point where we're not sure what's going to happen, and then suddenly, someone said this in the chat earlier, the most horrifying thing that could possibly happen in this scene happens. I said there was no soundtrack. But through the whole scene, we hear the chirping of the crickets. Until this moment, they immediately all stop. And then suddenly we hear a horn beeping, like blaring, like bam, someone beeping the horn. Beep, beep, and holding it down. And then it stops.
Leaning on it, yeah.
But then it stops. Then it starts again. Mike
I never heard it stop. I heard it just kept going.
I'm pretty sure it stopped. I could be wrong, but I thought it stopped. Maybe it was just how the scene was cut. Then it starts again. Mike looks around. He looks behind him. He goes off with his handgun and goes towards the wagon horn. The horn's going off, and it's a tree stick bludgeoned into the horn that says, with the insect chirp, stop once he pulls it out. And the note simply says, don't. With an exclamation mark. And I wrote that note could only be from one person. And I know, again, I might be wrong. I'm going out on a limb here saying that who that one person is. I don't mean we're going to see him next season. I agree with what someone said in the chat about how we're going to see probably an in-between. I represent somebody. Maybe that dude that Mike ends up working with, the guy that Gus eventually ends up slicing his neck because, and Mike says, yeah, I've known this guy the whole time. Or maybe one of the guys that we know in Mike's organization or in Gus's organization that it was going to be a go-between, or maybe just someone completely unique. But I do feel like, again, just to say, we talked a lot about this at the beginning. We don't have to talk too much about it. Obviously, it could be anybody, but I think it's for sure it's going to be Gus. Someone said, let's jump in the chat quick. That red shirt was no mistake by Nacho. I'm sure of it. Best tense building of the episode. Said I didn't hear it stop. Oh, someone said I didn't hear it stop. Keep going, I believe. Okay, I'm wrong. I believe the chat and you guys. It did not stop. In my mind, maybe it stopped. No chirps. Mike is made. Oh, fucking crazy.
Oh, that was so scary.
Well, I think
so scary.
It was when the horn started. That's when Mike panned over to the two cars again. And he looked at the car and the van that were out there, and he didn't see anything. And then he went back to the house. And then he realized, wait a second, what's that horn coming from?
Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. And in that distraction of the visual aspects of it, I kind of lost track of the horn. And while I was watching that, I was focusing so much on the visual of him looking around and the way my body was taking in all the stimulus. I kind of blocked out the horn for a while and just was focusing on Mike turning. And then I was like, oh, we got distracted again because the horn started blowing again. So when you guys are absolutely right, the horn went through the whole time.
Well, he also checked out the guy that was digging the hole to see if he reacted.
To it. He didn't react to it.
So it wasn't coming from there.
It was blocked from Mike's side by that rock.
Right, which meant the sound was coming from behind him and not down there because the guy didn't react to the sound of the horn.
Yep.
So it wasn't somebody approaching the house, beeping the horn to get their attention. It was someone
trying to get his attention.
And so you know that he parked far enough away that they wouldn't be able to hear the car, see the car, or anything like that of the car coming and going, dust being kicked up.
He wanted to make sure that that Hector's men didn't hear him, so he didn't get made in that situation. So it's somebody completely else. Could very easily again be Nacho. I think someone in the chat, I think Jessica, saying that Nacho's wearing red in that situation, purposely was blocking Hector and sent someone to tell Mike not to do that. That would be completely plausible as well.
Yes.
And so I think that's what makes the cliffhanger interesting. We have a lot of things that we can debate and think about what that possibly could be and who left that. Again, I'm pushing all my chips to Mr. Gustavo Fring right now.
A good comment, Jessica. Jessica, no chirps equals Mike is made, and that's true. If you were doing something like that, if you were out like sniping or just staking someone out, and you have that soundtrack of crickets going, you know that if it has stopped by you, if you do not hear that, if that stops, something's wrong. Someone's close to you. Someone's approaching you from behind or from the sides that you don't see, because that's, or an animal or something. But something is coming, and you know you're fucked. So you have to be aware of the sounds in your environment as well as what you're watching in front of you. You have to pay attention to that.
Now, Justin Credible asks, do you guys think Nacho could secretly working for Gus already and willing to bring to take this down on Gus?
Absolutely.
It's an absolute possibility. So to end things on that is where that storyline from Mike ends. And we're back in on the old woman eating candy in the gym. And Jimmy's really happy as he has all of his clients and as all the people reacting to his ad. It worked. And chirp, stop, horn blares. Thank you guys that are watching the episode right now. And that's why we have the awesomest chat, most awesome motherfucking chat to be able to write on this shit. The look on Mike's face. Holy shit. Holy shit. Get hardcore Jimmy stuff going on right here with
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye, guys. Hey. You get your sunglasses on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at you looking good.
And ultimately in this scene, just to talk through it, Kim ends up coming out and say Howard wants to talk to you, and Jimmy forces Kim to serve all the older folk coffee. And she's like, I'm not your coffee person. Jimmy's like, listen, I lied to Chuck and it might get arrested and whatnot. You can serve these people coffee. And she goes, I guess I can serve these people coffee. So then Jimmy and Howard have their conversation, which is quicker than I thought it was going to be. I'm like,
what?
Yeah, ultimately I thought it was going to be this big conversation between Chuck where he's like, are you behind this? Behind what? Oh, okay. Which leads us into our final confrontation.
What a setup.
Oh, Jimmy, no.
And I get no doubt Howard had no idea.
No. Oh, absolutely.
Edward says, who wants coffee? Phil, Joe, Katie, and Joe. They never say no to coffee.
Fuck no. Give me that.
Don't
get your own.
Stop.
Some things we don't
can't
share.
Press the buttons on the Keurig yet.
Yeah, well, you can back
Katie, raise a wing if you want coffee. No cream.
Raise a wing if you want coffee.
I won't dignify that with the
She's not a trick bird. So
no trick bird here.
No trick bird here. So then we get the Chuck and Jimmy showdown. Jimmy shows up at Chuck's door with what Hamlin said, and they get in. Chuck plays Jimmy perfectly in the situation. Goes, no, I don't want you to come in right now. I'm busy. To make Jimmy want more.
It's so good. Oh, man.
I want to get in. What the fuck? Let me in there now. And
well played.
And Jimmy's like, Jimmy comes in. He goes, what the fuck did you do?
I'm busy. Come back later.
Oh,
come on, Chuck. What the fuck? What are you doing, Chuck? And Chuck he plays it. The room is just covered head to toe and moon fucking blankets. The whole thing looks like a greenhouse within the house of moon blankets. Like he's growing some sandwiches in there or something. And we get into the.
You got a little.
And this makes me think it's all a con.
No, it is. I think it's all a con too, Joe. I think all. No. I said that at the beginning of the season or beginning of last season. I think part of Chuck is. I don't think Chuck's putting on his condition, but I think he only put the room together like this. He exaggerates it.
He's got some borderline tendencies.
Yeah. So we get into the final thing between Jimmy and Chuck, and just because this is so beautiful and so fucking awful and same way, let's play this and listen to it. Obviously, we're going to cut this off.
Tragic.
Talk about it.
Yes.
But this end situation between the two of them.
Quinn, I retired. That's not
the Space Blanket Palace. I knew this was.
I don't understand what the fuck Jimmy's whole thing. Why does he? Great, you fucking retired. Good. Finally, cash out.
Because he loves his brother.
Let's get that money.
Joe, again, I'm going to bring you a real life situation. Even when he was well past it, you convinced your brother to play basketball because he was your hero. Jimmy's hero is fucking Chuck, and Chuck is Superman to him. And getting out of lawyering, it looked to Jimmy. It's like that's the only reason I'm in lawyering was because I
was. Got it.
Yeah.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Good.
To him last week.
It's true. He was always the best player I knew, so he had to be on the team.
Without you, that
had to be on
place goes down the drain.
Exactly.
Well, you retired, not just from HHM, but the law.
Mm-hmm.
And see that there it is right there. That's not you. You're not. You can't do that.
The law.
The law needs you. It needs you. And I need you, Joe.
And you need it. What brought this on?
I thought Chuck was building a holodeck in there, says Edward. Oh, Jessica says, oh, Saul, you maroon. Well, what a maroon.
Nice.
Get me this far before you run me out of town on a rail, huh? I'll be the only McGill.
It's Marone.
That.
Marone.
Oh, Marone.
Oh, okay, Marone. Oh, yeah, different one. I read that quickly, but both work.
Oh,
Yes,
what
they do.
What is it? How did you manage to do that, Phil?
Hey, I got the Italian blood in me. That's all that counts.
Well,
Manudge.
take action. Don't just hide out in your Faraday, whatever, your cage thing here.
I just read it as a cartoon because I always go to Looney Tunes.
When you're 99,
Oh, Marone.
drop dead,
Yeah,
giving
no, it makes
closing
perfect sense to
arguments
me.
to Judge.
No, you spelled it. You spelled it right, Jessica. I fucked that up. I read it wrong. I quickly looked and read. It was. I just watched.
And it ended up being more like The Sopranos than you. Manudge.
I watched. I just watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit the other day, and so I had what a maroon.
What mistake?
A simple, nothing little bank address, 1216 instead of 1261. I screwed it up. I hurt the client.
And if you didn't know by now that Chuck was fucking with him, it just comes right across it. He takes his dick out right, slaps it across Jimmy's face, and goes, "Did it?" And Jimmy goes, and he goes, "Did you like that, Jimmy?" And Jimmy goes, "What happened? I didn't see what happened. Did you just slap your dick across my face? I don't know. I don't know. Did I just get
He
dick
never
across?
saw it coming, right?
Coming.
You missed it somewhere. You missed it going.
Utterly.
Chuck E. Coyote, super genius.
Yeah, that's what we were laughing at.
I blame you.
The chat's awesome.
It's this goddamn electricity. It's wearing me down. It's wearing down my faculties. My brain.
Joshua,
Mistake 1661. Yeah. Oh my God. I never wanted to smack Chuck more when he said that. My brain, it's wearing down my brain. I made a fucking mistake. Oh my God. You never made a mistake before? I really wanted to fucking punch him right in the fucking jaw. Go fuck yourself and walk out. If I were Jimmy, it's exactly what I would have done. Yeah, that's right. You're going fucking crazy. Peace, bitch.
Jessica says, "I can't."
Alone, you fuck.
Jessica says, "I can't, you guys. I'm having another rage fit on Chuck. Stop it! Stop it!"
Yeah. No. Me too. As soon as he said that, I was all done with him. As soon as he said, "It's wearing down my faculties." 1661. I hurt the client. You hurt the billionaire fucking client. Wow. You can really go fuck yourself now, Chuck. God, I was so pissed.
It gets worse though, Joe.
It gets so much worse.
Here we go.
What if I told you you didn't make a mistake?
Jimmy, shut up. Jimmy,
don't.
Shut up.
No, Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Where's Kim? Where's Kim?
Grifted.
Oh shit, where's Kim? Someone stop him.
Jimmy. Like, can we just see the
best lawyer you know?
This is a crash. He is fucking trapped. Stop it. You fucking asshole. Chuck's acting like Anakin Skywalker levels of bullshit. Can't believe Jimmy gets taken. Please rant for me, Joe. Was there an after credits scene in this episode? Oh, same Joe. Die, Chuck, die. I can't say. Let's finish this scene off.
There's also a lot of shit on this tape, right? There's the whole lead up of this confession, which is all about him tinfoiling his fucking house in the aftermath of almost being committed, and this self-brought on catatonic episode of his, which is witnessed by the doctor and everything. Like, it's all on this tape. So Chuck does cover that, but also Jimmy covers it too by also saying, yeah, I'm saying this to make you feel better, and you need to hear me say I'm telling the truth, then I'm telling the truth too. And he kind of says it twice.
In fairness, though, the really damning thing, we'll get to it at the end. The damning thing,
you know you committed a felony.
Yes.
You know you committed a felony. He goes, yeah, that's
Chuck
your word
covers it. Covers it.
It's your word versus my word there. That's the most damning thing Jimmy says, because everything else can be a matter of opinion versus opinion. But Chuck says that to him, opinion versus opinion, or Jimmy says that back to him, and they're not going to believe you because you're crazy. But so actually saying that just senses more guilt. That being said, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this pans out. But let's listen to the end of the scene because it gets fucking rage-inducing again.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts.
This is your confession.
James 1261.
Yeah.
He never should have gone into that haunted house.
It was me.
Yes, Kate.
Exactly like you said. I mean, exactly. I doctored the copies. I paid
Maroon
to lie for
there
me.
There you go, Phil.
How you got every detail exactly right. So you can relax, okay? Because that brain of yours is chugging along at 1,000%.
Can't relax. He has to celebrate.
I'm done. I quit.
Are you telling the truth? Or are you just trying to
make me feel better?
I am saying it to make you feel better. Sure, shit wouldn't be telling you otherwise. But yes.
But
Jimmy, you're so fucking goofy. You're an idiot. I'm Jimmy. I'm an idiot.
he's too good.
I did it for Kim.
He's too good for this world.
He worked her butt off to get Mesa Verde while you and Howard sat around sipping scotch and chortling. Hamlin.
Chortling.
Fucking awesome.
Deserves Mesa Verde, not you, not HHM. She earned it, and she needs it.
Yeah.
Help her.
Just when it comes down to it, I just want to break this up for 1 second just to say, again, applaud fucking Bob Odenkirk for his acting chops. He was a talented guy. I'm constantly surprised with how good of a dramatic actor he is.
I
didn't realize.
Surprised with this.
Yeah.
I never realized. I always thought he was one of the funniest guys. I loved Mr. Show.
Very talented.
Loved him in all his bit parts. Loved him. I thought he was a good writer. Loved some of the stuff that he was a part of writing. I never knew he had this gear, and it's just incredible to see.
Chops.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think it would hurt you so bad. I thought you'd just say, "Oh crap, I made a mistake," and go on with your life like a normal person. But oh no, wishful thinking.
Right there, too. Right there. That's amazing. Really founded emotion from someplace real. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel anything. They thought it was
Because it builds.
And it builds. Yeah, real natural.
It builds from like an apology to a "you fucking crazy."
Yep. You got it all right. You got it all right. And now you die, motherfucker. Listen to it again. He's going straight to Kim and tell her it's going to become the Hulk. Yeah, blood needs to be spilled. The confession might even convict Clinton. I had sexual relations with that girl. I did not have sexual relations with that girl.
Selectual.
That was on purpose, man. Selectual kind of relationship.
I'm laughing at that. That was funny.
I like it.
And then it goes. It pauses. Wait for a second.
So can I tell Howard you're not quitting or retiring or whatever?
The nod.
But what if it?
Fucking asshole.
What it? Yeah, he
just take all the shit down off the walls.
Like Jimmy can't handle this. It's just he can't handle you being crazy. Stop the crazy. Just stop it. I can't deal with the shit.
I'm gonna go call Howard.
I'm gonna go call Howard. Iron the situation. Do you think Howard's in on the scam?
No,
nope.
Not at all.
No, I agree.
You do realize you just confessed to a felony?
Intellectual sexual.
Oh, that's just like I gotta stab you a couple of more times.
I want to name a band Intellectual Sexual. That's good stuff, Kelsey.
Oh.
Yes. But you feel better, right?
Yeah, you feel better, right, motherfucker?
Besides, it's your word against mine.
This right here, this. As he pulls it off and he uncovers, yes. What? Oh, you fucking little bastard. A fucking 1980s.
Still can't even touch it.
And the 1980s tape recorder sitting right there. I mean, I know how those tape recorders work. There's a very big possibility that none of that got recorded.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was thinking that too.
How did he get the batteries in?
Work out for him.
Yeah, through meiosis, Joe. let's take a call before we wrap this up. We got our buddy KLC calling in. How's it going, buddy?
Okay, I've been wanting to say this the whole episode, but isn't it illegal to record private conversations
in some states?
Consent?
Yeah, and I only learned this from television, so I don't know if this is true. Sam can tell us in the comment section whenever she watches this. But I also isn't it a thing that tape recordings aren't admissible in court or something. Haven't I heard that on television before?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So I'm just trying to figure out, especially, with us trying to be such a prestigious, uptight lawyer, how is he gonna get this stuff to work in court?
I mean, I think
one-party consent state.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up just using it as leverage against Jimmy in some ways and never actually brings charges upon him. He just goes, I have the evidence against you, so walk away.
Some more.
You're no longer can be Jimmy McGill, walk away from the law, blah, 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 blah. And that could be triggering into the Saul Goodman thing. He loses the ability to use the McGill name. How about that, Chuck? You want me to quit? You want me to quit the law? You want me to go to jail? You want me to never be McGill again? I'll never be fucking McGill again. You got what you want. I'm not your legacy. Fuck you, Chuck.
Not even your brother.
Not even your brother, or it ends up somewhere like that, maybe.
Yeah, no, it like Katie was saying.
But good call, KLC. Thank you so much, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Katie was saying
Very good
every
question.
state is different. In this state, it's a two-party consent state to be tape recorded. They don't have the right to you don't have the right to tape record someone else's voice without their permission.
Tell that to Linda.
And without their knowledge or consent.
Oh my goodness, we
have
knowledge
that they are so you can say by being in this house you're being recorded, and they can say no, don't record me. But if they stay, that's giving consent because you've told them there is a recording going on in this room. They don't have to stay in a room that's being recorded, but by staying, you're giving consent by letting them know that they're being recorded.
So, and it also adds to the investigation. It's just more evidence that they can use to investigate other means, and then kind of use it as leverage to turn the guy at the coffee shop place to say that he was bribed and just everything like that. We have a tape recording that says this too. You want to change your story and actually get to the right side here. So, so Edward says Kim shaves Jimmy's head, strips him naked, makes him walk the streets while she rings that bell and yells, "Shame, shame, shame!" Frank Sabaka. Oh my God! From the water of the wire, buddy. We got Frank Sabaka. I love you, buddy. I loved you in season 2 of The Wire, my friend. Thanks for popping on in. Depends the state. Critch says, as Joe and Katie were saying as well. Edward says, time to binge watch some Law and Order episodes till we figure all this out. It says one-party consent is only allowed in most states. West of Pennsylvania. Frank says California is a two-party consent state thanks to our many celebrities who live and work here. Kelsey says Chuck is finally rolling around in the mud with Jimmy. And what's up, Frank? I don't want to talk about Wire spoilers, but I thought you got a raw end of it, buddy. You're one of my favorite characters on television ever. I fucking love you, dude. I love your season. I love Wire season 2 is underrated, man. Fucking love The Wire season 2. My favorite season of The Wire is the whole thing, but I very much love The
whole.
Hey, thanks. Don't mean to derail. No, we're at the end of the conversation. No derailing the conversation here at the program. We try to stick to the topic, but we're at the end of the discussion. So this was our season of Better Call Saul. We'd like to thank everyone that joined us over the course of the season. Special thanks to KLC and Big J, 2 of our main callers in the Better Call Saul season, and everybody in the live chat. Frank, Jessica, Critch, so many of the people that joined us during the day or at night. Edward, that's in there right now. Pal, that's in there right now. So many other friends. FJ, Jose. If I'm missing anyone that was in there tonight, Phil, I miss your Sopranos recaps. They're coming back. Don't you worry. That's a Joe answer, Phil. Yeah, that's a Joe answer. I did give a Joe answer there.
Which one?
Fucking what do you call it? With the fucking. That's just the way. Yeah, that's the way things gotta be, Joe. 4 fucking days. I love The Wire too. Love it. Yeah, 4 fucking days till Game of Thrones is here.
5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this point, it's 4. We're past
Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday to Friday.
Real guy. Tell Big J you better be here for Game of Thrones. So we're doing Vikings Thursday after. Going to be trying to. 95% sure Vikings will be on at 11:30 the season finale. We're going to be back on Thursday evening to talk about the season finale of Vikings.
Yep.
And then back on Sunday to talk about some Game of Thrones. Thank you. Great season. So we got Vikings, then Game of Thrones on Sunday, and then we're in.
I got Thrones brain.
Everybody, if you haven't already and you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Cannot thank you guys enough for joining us this season. We'll try not to be gone the whole off season with this. Maybe we'll be back on maybe sometime in the summer, fall, or come on similar to the way I come on sometimes. Similar way I come on for Game of Thrones.
Coming on to everyone, Phil.
maybe we'll follow the off season of Better Call Saul a little bit more tightly this season and try to figure out any news that gets announced for it. And do some more coverage in the off season of Better Call Saul. Maybe some crossovers. Keep you up to date on the Breaking Bad rewatch I'm going to go on, and because we're going to try to cover a lot of different shows in the off season, a lot of different kind of content. So, everybody, have a good night. You guys are awesome. Katie Crow, Jessica says you guys are awesome. Katie Crow is a babe. Frank says you already subbed since February when I found your channel. We're so lucky to have all of you people. So, everybody, have a good night. We will talk to you guys next time. Good night.
Peace.
Good night. Love.